Hey, how's it going? I'm Ron,
I'm Zach.
and we're here on Influences, the show where we talk about bands and other mediums that have influenced us as musicians. This week we're doing something a little bit different. We're going to talk about the classic television show Twilight Zone. Twilight Zone was written and created by a man named Rod Serling back in the 60s, and the series has become iconic. It's one of the most popular series in television history, and it has been highly influential to many other art forms. So I grew up watching the old episodes and still watch them, constantly reviewing them. Zach has recently been getting into some of these episodes as well. So, Zach, what are some of your favorite Twilight Zone episodes?
I can't remember the episode name specifically, as I'm sure many people can't, but the one where it's about the guy who works at the bank who enjoys reading. And
Time Enough at Last, starring Burgess Meredith, who also played Mickey in Rocky's boxing coach.
that's one of my favorites because it's kind of shows one of those human emotions that you wouldn't be able to feel in any other scenario, which is something that the Twilight Zone does a lot. Is that each episode kind of puts you in a situation which kind of brings something kind of deep in you that you feel that you can't really feel anywhere else.
Yeah, there's something that's the writing of the series is just amazing, and as sci-fi as it gets, it's always rooted in the fundamental human condition. Things that fear, as he called it, as he said in the narration, the summit of man's knowledge and the pit of his fears. It touches upon things that are common fears and hopes in all of us. There's a few episodes that kind of come to mind when I think of that. There's, spoiler alert, but there's one where a guy is he's a robber and he gets shot while he's robbing a jewelry store, and he wakes up and he thinks he's in heaven and he gets everything that he wants, and he eventually comes to get really bored with it, and he says to his guide, "Hey, maybe I belong in the other place. Maybe heaven is not for me." And the guy laughs and says, "What made you think you were in heaven? This is the other place." And that's, the big twist at the end. And I guess that's something that just really always got me, was every ending was just such a sucker punch, such a twist, What are some other ones that come to mind?
One, man, I can hardly remember it. It's the everyone has to act very, very kind of uptight and perfect around this little boy.
It's a Good Life, starring William Mummy, from Lost in Space, when he was a young boy. Yes, he's a monster who holds the town and his parents and entire family in a constant state of fear because he can do whatever he wants with his mind. And it's real interesting because it's a very extreme version of what a lot of parents and adults experience with young children who are very willful and very bratty. that's a classic episode. I don't want to give up what happens at the end of that, but yeah, there's very few episodes that are throwaway Twilight Zone episodes.
And being as many as there are, and having the amount of throwaway episodes be such a small percentage, it really doesn't impact the overall rating of a show, you could say, of the show, you could say.
Yeah, and as far as the influence on our music, we're just it's kind of a thing of the level of quality that Rod Serling held the show to. He really wanted to keep things rooted in reality as much as possible while he's taking these journeys through sci-fi, science fiction. And it's really inspired me as a musician to view his work as a kind of a bar that he had set in terms of thinking outside the box, but keeping things rooted in the human condition.
I'm a really big fan of, kind of like I mentioned, the very specific emotions that can't be replicated anywhere else. I think if you can bring that out in a type of music, you can bring out an emotion that you won't get from many other places, then you've really done something amazing, because anyone can say, hey, I'm happy. This is a song about being happy. You know what it's like to be happy. So do I. This is a song about that. You know, a lot of people could probably do that, some better than others, but not too many people can say, this is an emotion that you can't think of words for.
That's a great point. Yeah, there's sometimes it's at the end of the episode that you said, time enough at last, where this man is left.
Well, I haven't even said anything about the episode. I don't want to spoil it, but I suppose if we must.
It's pretty well known. Spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it, the Time Enough at Last episode starring Burgess Meredith. He
works in a bank. He loves reading. He goes down to the bank vault. Of course, there's foreshadowing. He looks at a newspaper article that's talking about hydrogen bombs, and sure enough, their surrounding area is struck with a hydrogen bomb where he is left alive in the bank vault. However, everyone else in the area, for who knows how long in each direction, is no longer living, along with the buildings and everything. So he kind of walks just to look for a reason to live, and he finds a library where...
And one other thing, to point out is that his wife and his boss and everybody criticized him for wanting to read all the time. And so he never had enough time to read, so every
spare moment he got, he would use it, and it always felt very strained. And
every day at lunchtime he would go down, he worked in the bank, he would go down to the bank vault where he had privacy, and he would read. So that's when the nuclear bomb went off, and hydrogen bomb went off.
To continue, he finds the library and thinks, well, this is amazing. This is the most amazing thing that could have happened in this situation. And he sorts everything out exactly how he's going to read it, which times, which days. I think he did it by months.
Mm-hmm.
And it ends off with, I believe, him tripping on the stairs of the library and breaking his glasses, which do not allow him to see.
Yeah, and the tragedy, you feel that moment when he's got time enough at last to read all of these books, and nobody bothers him about it, and he trips and his glasses fall off, and you just feel that sucker punch. And anyway, there's a lot of that in this series. It's so moving, and the acting still holds up. There, some of the social mores and such have changed throughout the decades, but it's still a quality show that we highly recommend. One of probably my favorite television show in all of television history. And its impact is felt in as I said, many other areas of the arts, music, literature, etc.
Imagery.
Yeah. So, anyway, thanks for thanks for sticking around, and we will be exploring. We decided this week that we wanted to expand this a little bit, and
to all forms of influences upon us.
yeah, there's a lot more things than just music that influence us as musicians and band members of Widetrack. So anyway, want to thank you. We'll be seeing you soon. Keep on rocking.